Hi everyone, in this video we are gonna look at how to optimize our render setting to get the noise-free result. First step is to make sure we are working with the right unit and scale. So if you just go to unit setup, here we have the display unit scale, which is what you are seeing here. So here I have metric and it is centimeters, but the original unit setup, it's here. So it means that each unit in this scene is equal to 1 meter. So if you are using any different units, you have to remember how to set up it correctly in Redshift also, because Redshift is working with the metric system, and I will explain it a bit later. So here I'm gonna choose meters and okay. So if you open our render setting and if you go to output and if you go to photometric, here you can see that it says units to meters scale. So I'm using 1 meter scale in my scene, so here I'm gonna write 1. But if you are using centimeters, so here it should be 100, which means each unit, which is 1 meter, is equal to 100 centimeter. It's very important because this scale is very effective on the lights, and especially this redshift photographic exposure. And the problem which will be come out is if you have any problem with the density of the lights, it can be mostly from this. So after we make sure that we are using the right scale, so here it would be 1. Next is to make sure you are using the redshift photographic exposure. It's very important to get used to use this. And as you can see here in our scene, which is a interior scene, is made by my brother Bahram. We have a very simple light source, windows, which I put some physical redshift lights here, and also we have these lights as you can see here, these lights we have. So we have these light sources, and also I'm using the redshift physical sky. When you put the redshift sun, which I also have redshift sun, when you apply, you can just add the physical sky. I just added for having the sky as a background. So by pushing this button here, you will have this shader here. And also I'm using the atmosphere effect, is the redshift volume scatter, which is gonna make a very low fog fill here. So we will see just in a second after I make a test render. And also we are gonna use the redshift bokeh for having the depth of field. So in this scene, in this scenario, I'm just trying to make all the possible cases to have noise in our scene, depth of field, volumetric stuff, and reflection. In this video, I'm not gonna get into those crazy mathematic formulas. I'm just gonna explain to you a simple procedure that I'm doing it for each project that I want to work on. So by doing it step by step, you will understand that exactly each noise source, and you can just decrease it and just have a clean result. So Redshift, it's a very smart engine. So the reason that it's very fast, it's because it's using a very effective way to sampling the render. We have two different kind of group. We have samples for depth of field, motion blur, and anti-aliasing, which they are primary rays, and we have the secondary ways that they are all the reflection, refraction, glossiness, and GI sampling. So by dividing these two, Redshift is letting you to optimize them in their own way to have the best result in a fastest way possible. So now let's open our render setting. This is the default setting that when you assign a Redshift renderer, you have the minimum and maximum sample 4 and 16, and just let's also put the GI on the brute force, primary and secondary, because with the brute force you have the most possible noises, especially in interior. So if you can understand that how these GI noises are made and how you can get rid of them, so the other ones, which are the radiance cache and the point cloud, it's much easier, and actually they don't have actually that much noises. So let's put them on the brute force, and again default 16. So also actually in the new version of the Redshift, which is at the moment I'm using 2.5.64, I think I'm using, which is at the moment the latest version. By default, this automatic memory management is enabled. If it's not, make sure that in your scene it's enabled, and try to avoid touching these numbers. These are the best. So if you just by trying to increase or decrease any of them, maybe somehow you will get a better result in the render time, but your scene error render engine will become unstable. So you may have crashes or anything like that. So just try to keep this as a default, or you know what you are doing in that case. So let's take a test render and see how it come out like this with all those default setting. Okay, so it took 48 seconds. By the way, I forgot to tell you, now I'm using at the moment just one 980 Ti graphic card. So just keep in mind that this render time is by this graphic card. So as you can see here, we have a very nice noisy render. We have noise from everything, depth of field, glossiness, GI, everything. So next step is to put render elements to check all different passes here, the reflection pass, the GI pass, and the lighting pass. So in that case, we can understand each noise is coming from which source. So let's just add the reflection, refraction, and can also put a specular, and also global illumination and lighting. Okay, so we have all these passes which they will show us any kind of diffuse and reflection noises, so we can check them later. So now let's start our optimization. So if you just open the environment tab and just disable the effect, volumetric effect, and then the bokeh effect. Next, we are gonna disable the GI, and then we are gonna go to optimization tab, and in the global overrides we are gonna disable the reflection, emission, scattering, and displacement and tessellation. After that we have to just change the min and max sampling. So as I said, this sampling is for the depth of field, motion blur, and anti-aliasing. So we just want to make sure that we are fixing sampling in lighting, reflection, and refraction correctly. So let's make them 1. So it means that there are not going to be any samples for anti-aliasing and other effects. So now if we just make a test render, so we are gonna see our scene just with the lighting, and as you can see here we have these noises for this is for sun, and this is for this light and the other one. So let's start one by one by just, if you open your light lister, if we just disable rest and keep the sun first. So yeah, this is the sun. As you can see how noisy it is. And by the way, I totally forgot to tell you that we can just enable the IPR, and by enabling IPR, because that sampling scenario is not working and showing in the progressive mode, we have to put it on the bucket mode. So in this mode you can just make sure that what you are changing, it's affecting the final result. So as you can see, this is what we have at the moment. So here in the sun parameter tab, we have the shadow, and if we just increase it to 16, not bad, 64, much better, and 128, better, 256. I think it's good enough. And because at the end also that anti-aliasing and that final sampling will also somehow improve this one. So for now this much it's enough. As you can see, there is no noise and anything. So next is we will turn off the sun, and we are gonna turn on those lights that I put, as you can see here, in the roof. So here you see that we have noises, and if we just select their instance, so if I just increase it to 32, still we have a bit noise here. So if I put it 64, much better. But I somehow feel still we have some stuff here, so let's make it 128. So I think, yeah, it's good enough. As you can see, it's clear, there is nothing there. So let's move on to the next slide, which is those side ones. Again, as you can see, we have noises here. So if I just select that light, and as you can see it's 16, if I just increase it to 32, and also I prefer to increase the sampling by this formula, so by 16, 32, 64. So now a bit better. I think still we have some tiny noise here. I think 128 will be fixed. Yeah. So yeah, we have clean render. So next is that lights next to the bed. As you can see, they are very noisy because also they are passing through that shape. So as you can see, it's increasing the noise more. So we are gonna just select one of them because they are both instance. So again, if I just increase it to 64, 128, no, 256, still we have some noises, so let's make it, yeah, now it's good. As you can see, there is no noise anymore. This jittering things is because of the anti-aliasing, so it's not from the sampling, light sampling. So by now we did all of our lights, so let's turn them all. So as you can see, we have a very clean lighting path, as you can see here. So next step is to enable all the refraction and glossiness. So let's bring back our render setting, and in the optimization tab, let's enable the reflection. As you can see, it got a slower, and also the noise is there, refraction, and subsurface scattering, and rest of them. So as you can see, we have these noises that now it's added to our render. So now we are sure that there is no noise in our lighting path. It's whatever it is, it's in the reflection, glossiness, and the other. I'm just gonna reset the render engine to make sure that everything is calculated correctly. Yeah. So let's move on with the shading part. Okay, so here let's start with the floor, which is the big surface. Okay, let's change it to light. So if we just check the reflection path, as you can see, we have quite a nice noise here. So first we're gonna fix the floor, and let's use the crop. So by cropping this area, we are gonna just save our time by, so I'm gonna increase it to 64, better, 128, better, and 256. I think it's good enough, yeah, for this purpose. I mean, I just want you to understand, you know, what I'm doing. So if still you have more noise, you can just increase it. Don't be afraid of increasing it, because somehow if you just input the right numbers, even they are high, the Redshift will take the render faster. So don't think that if you increase the number, it's gonna make it slower. No, it's gonna be slow if the numbers are wrong. So we are done with the floor. Yeah, so next is this table. As you can see, it's very noisy. So let's take that one. And again, 16, let's make it 64. Better. Let's put it also this one, because it's almost same kind of shader with the bump and glossiness. So yeah, it's because somehow this noise that you are seeing, this jittering, it's because there is bump, and also on top of that bump there is a glassiness, and we need a bit anti-aliasing here to have the nice smooth result. So this much is enough at the moment. The next step is to check our glass. So here we don't have that much roughness, so just in case I'm just gonna put here 64, and as you can see it didn't change anything. And here I'm gonna put also 64. It's changing a bit, but it's not very effective, so just in case let's put it 128. Okay, so also I forgot to tell you that for these kind of glasses, which is the windows, which they are a flat plane of the glass, that they are, you don't need them ray bending and that kind of effect. So it would be better if you just enable the thin wall option, which is gonna just make it as a reflective and without that ray bending effect. So it's gonna increase a bit, decrease calculation for that manner. So we are done with this part, floor and the table. So let's do it also for that bed by selecting and going to the texture. I'm gonna go for 64. Yeah, looks nice. 128. Okay, I think it's enough. And next is this one, which is the mattress. And if you just go to so 64, and I think it would be better 128. Yeah, much better. And 256. I think it's good. And also let's change this one to 256 to make sure that it's clear enough. Next is this wooden shader, and let's just increase the samples to 28. Much better. 256. I think 512 would be better because of the tiny micro bump. And now here we have these lamps. Let's take the material and okay, here I will explain to you why here I'm using this shader. Here is the original shader, which is the backlighting translucency effect also on it. So here let's increase the sample to 128. It seems clean. So actually the reason that I'm using this shader is that with the ray switch you can just tell the render engine to use different kind of shader for GI, reflection or refraction. So here when you're using the light, intense light next to the bright shader, so it's gonna make that kind of issue, as the name as fireflies. So it's for just get rid of that. You can just put your shader in ray switch and as a color, and for GI you can just put the solid color as a gray or white. You can just add a gray material without any reflection or glossiness, just solid gray, and or you can just change the color which is next to that. You can just, because we just need that color for having the GI. Yeah, you can just change it here, and that's it. In the future videos I will explain more about these shaders, utility shaders, but for now this much I think would be enough. So yeah, it seems clean for now. And also this one is, yeah, the same material with the blanket. Yeah, I think for now that's it. And the last thing is this wooden kind of table that we have next to the bed. So if I just select it, and because it has also displacement, if I just hide it here. Also I will make I'm planning to make another video just about the displacement and how you can use the tessellation for get the very nice result. So here I'm gonna just also increase the sampling for that. I think 128 would be enough. Yeah, let's make it 256. Okay, good. So as you can see at the moment, we have a nice noise-free render reflection. Maybe there are some other shaders in here that I didn't touch yet, because I just want to explain how you can do it. So the rest of the shaders, you have to do this for all your shaders. So it's something that you have to keep in mind. So this is the way that you will get rid of this noise. So next step is to just go for the GI. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna just enable, sorry, I just forgot, before we start working on the GI, we have also this, as you remember, volumetric effect that we had. So we just put it in front of the window, so to have that nice feeling. So if I just come here and activate it, and you have to restart your render. Yeah, so as you can see, it's affecting. So as you can see, till this moment we have a nice noise-free from any kind of glossiness or reflection result. So at this point, this volumetric fog that I put here, they call it the God rays. So it's very low dense, so you don't see that much grain or noise on it. But if there is, the way that you can decrease it is to just open your light lister, and for that light that you have to apply, also there would be a video to optimize and rendering the volumetrics. If I just go to this light, and in that volume section, if you just increase this one to 32 or more for getting the smooth result. So you can just do it like that. Also the other one, I'm gonna put it 32. Okay, so yeah, I think that would be quite enough. We don't have any issue with that. So next is our GI. Okay, so let's enable our GI. As I said, I'm gonna go for the brute force because I really want to have lots of noise, as you can see. Okay, so you see the lighting is still noise free. Reflection, these tiny noise that you can see, actually they are not noise, they are because we have a bump and the displacement here, so it's somehow glossiness and reflecting all those tiny macro facets. So we are gonna get rid of these in the anti-aliasing. So if we just go to the GI, you see here we have proper noise, as you can see. So what we can do is just by increasing it to 128, much better. 512, much better. 1024, much better. Or even we can just check like this, because as I said, now I'm using just one graphic card, so I don't want to kill that poor GPU. So as you can see, we got much better result. There is no crazy noise. I would suggest to increase it to 2048. Yeah, so looks nice. No noise. Okay, so let's check our beauty pass. As you can see, this area that it was taking. Yeah, so let's just get more area to see the final result. Okay, I think, I mean, this much is enough. Just as I know, as I can suggest you, it's better for rendering interior scenes, especially in the architectural projects. It's not a good idea to put them in the brute force. It's, I mean, if you have a animation that you are using the animated objects and that kind of stuff, yeah, but normally you can just change the secondary engine to the Radiance point cloud or the other render engines. They will also give you almost same result, much faster, because brute force is the slowest one. So yeah, I think this much is enough. So next step, it's to just add our bokeh effect. So now let's enable our bokeh effect. So let's go to effects and active. So again, let's see the result. So I'm gonna just crop an area to see faster result. I think this part is good. So as you can see, we have a very noisy result. now it's time to adjust our final sampling, assigning the right min and max. So it's recommended by Redshift to first increase both min and max together. I'm gonna start with something like 64. Not bad, still too much. 128. Still it's noisy, as you can see. So I'm gonna go for 256. Okay, I think it's good enough. And also don't forget the other samples that we assigned for the lighting and reflection, glossiness, those stuff. They shouldn't be much less than this max sample. So whatever, for example, we have 512 and we had 256. So I think for now this 256 is the best number for us here. We have this a bit noise here, but I'm gonna tell you how we can get rid of that. So next is to decrease this, and again it's recommended by Redshift to use 16, because Redshift needs a space gap between the min and max to use the effective unified sampling system. So yeah, I mean 16 and 256, maybe we can just increase it to 32. Yeah, and then we can just play with the error threshold. Yeah, I think as this resolution, I mean, I think it was, I put 1000, yeah. I think it's a good result. Or you can just also go a bit lower to 0.3. Yeah, I mean this also this shape, as you can see, it's a bit directed. It's because I'm using in the bokeh effect, I'm using these shutter blades and with the angle. So if I just make them 0, I mean you are not gonna see this angled effect. So yeah, I mean that's it. I mean this is the final sampling that you can do for your render. We did our diffuse lighting, as you can see, it's clear. We did our GI, it's clear. We did our reflection, and we did our refraction, which is clear also, and also the specular glossiness. Just one last thing is that for seeing the samples that what we have to disable the IPR, and I'm just gonna enable the show samples. And if you just press the render bucket, it's gonna start showing you how the samples are arranging. So the only thing is that it shouldn't be some area that they are pure black. It means that those area there is no samples, you are giving them less sample. It should be something between grayish and white. Yeah, so for now let's just cancel and let's see how it looks at the final result. Okay, so now we have our renders. So let's take, it took 8 minutes to render this resolution. First of all, it's not a good idea to render interior scene with the brute force. I mean, both primary and secondary engine. Normally, even if you put the first one in brute force and the second one, if you put the irradiance point cloud, it would be much faster. But better idea is to use the irradiance cache and the point cloud. So even if you try to use the irradiance cache and the point cloud, you will have sample here just exactly the way that you dealt with the noise and sampling in brute force. You can do it here. There is no sampling for the irradiance cache, so you can just use it as the way it is and just play with the numbers here. I normally don't use it that much. So as you can see, we have overall very nice clean render, as you can see here, but there are a bit some stuff around here that I think I forgot to fix the samples for the metal shader for the lights. As you can see here, we have that jittering effect. And also at the moment I'm using the version 2.5.64 if I'm right, and as I know there is a beta version that is AI denoiser, so hopefully when it comes to the stable official versions, it would be totally different scenario. It would be much clean, easier way to denoising the renders. But for now there are way that you can just denoise this, get rid of these noises in Photoshop, Nuke or Fusion if you are using. And also at the end, if you just try to add some grain, because normally even in the real world the camera, they have some grain and noises in their footage. So this is a good result. I hope this tutorial was useful for you and you enjoyed it. Let me know any comments, any idea, anything that I can improve these series of the videos that I'm preparing for you guys. Thank you very much for watching.